Hey guys, this is Fergal from PokerVIP. Welcome to part one of a two-part series we're going to be playing over on GG Poker. So for this series, we are going to be playing some 25NL, so 10 cent, 25 cent. We are going to be two-tabling throughout. The reason I want to drop down in tables is that I feel when we're four-tabling four tables and trying to record at the same time, I feel like some hands kind of get lost in translation. So we're going to drop down the tables a little bit and we're going to really try to hone in on the action of what is going on. So other than that though, it's going to be the exact same as the usual format. This is a live play video, of course, so these hands are me talking through them as I play them. They're not kind of me going over a recording or anything close to it. So without further ado, we shall jump straight into the action. Hopefully we will get some interesting pots. Oh, that's not what I want to do at all. I almost just jammed all in by mistake. We are going to open here. This is definitely on the looser side, but I want to see how this player reacts to steal, so I want to try to get a feel for that early. So the fact that he's calling isn't a disaster, so I want to be able to... It's the second time I almost did that. I want to be able to open blind versus blind, and I want to be able to just fire a half pot c-bet and take this down and kind of in an auto profit kind of spot. Hopefully he isn't the tricky sort who will float out of position. So we do get called, which is less than ideal. We don't pick up any backdoor equity, so we're going to check then, pretty much just check, give this one up. I wouldn't mind getting this to showdown, and I am curious what sort of hands he is taking this line with. I would be very surprised if he checks back a hand that doesn't have some showdown value. Seems like it's unlikely that he is doing this with some sort of ace jack type hand that has a gut shot and decides to bluff river or anything like that. Kind of annoying. I would have enjoyed seeing what he takes that line with, as I said, but look, not the end of the world. As I said, the open in the first place was definitely on the looser side, but as I said, if he's the kind of player that we can just run over quite easily, I want to be able to establish that as early as possible. Okay, so I need to get into the habit of typing the 0 first. Easy open here with the 4s, of course. Blind versus a new villain, BVB. We do get the call. Pretty bad board for us. He can have a lot of gut shots with overcards that are going to continue. He's not going to be folding any pair or anything close to it. When he checks back, it's unlikely that he's got like really kind of nutted hands. We're just going to try to take our showdown if we can. Really promising that this goes check a second time. I don't think there's much value in betting here. So if we bet, we're definitely going to get called by an 8 or a 9. It's very unlikely we get called by any worse. Maybe some ace highs might hero us. But I think our best line here is to check, and if he decides to bet, we can probably call down here pretty comfortably. Ace 4, it's possible he may call, as I said, with the ace high kind of hand, but I think it's more likely that he just goes ahead and he folds that kind of hand. So I don't think we miss any value there, but it's possible we maybe missed it a little bit in the river. Just the problem is he can have like kind of 6s, 7s, like every pocket pair above our 4s basically. I mean, I guess he can have the unders. I think there was a 3 on the board, so I guess he can have like pocket 2s and stuff like that. But it's kind of one of those spots where it's really difficult to argue that that's a value bet, and it's just can't argue it's a bluff either because just the chances of us getting a better hand to fold are so slim. Ace highs are really the only kind of hand that might call. The 6 and the deuce, obviously we're just going to be letting this one go. Ace 6, we are going to be opening from the cutoff. On the looser side again, but I'm okay doing it. This player goes ahead and he 3-bets us in position. We're just going to go ahead and let him have this one. Calling Ace 6 out of position is going to be less than ideal. We are going to be keeping an eye on this player though. If he starts 3-betting us liberally from these kinds of positions, we may need to adjust. With a jack 10 off suit, we are going to call and we're going to see a flop. It's worth noting that this player and this player is the same. Dream flop, of course. It's a flop where I expect a lot of c-bets to come in, so we are going to go for the check, and we're likely going to check raise. We'll see what kind of sizing comes in. Kind of sucks that he goes this small, but we are going to go ahead and do the check raise thing. Oof. I don't see any merit really in slow playing here when it goes bet raise already. Like this guy almost certainly has a hand that he's going to have a hard time folding, or I'd be very surprised if he doesn't. So we're just going to raise an amount that allows us to comfortably get it in on the turn, or almost at least. We are just going to go ahead and jam. It's close enough. I sized that a little bit incorrectly. We should have gone a little bit larger. I just miscalculated on the fly. Should have made it an extra like 50-60 cent. And we would have had a comfortable jam. We do get the call. We don't want insurance, thank you very much. Let's fade the flush, please. One time is good. Nice. So we are up to $52 immediately. We will take it. The ace-9. We're gonna let this one go. Kind of sucks. It's a really, really juicy squeeze spot for this guy, Matu. I don't know if he knows that or not, but it really is. So really great start to the session, obviously, with the 10-jack. I love that this side really offers the kind of the whole run at once and the insurance kind of thing, because I think it's just there for maximum tilt. I think, I think tilt people are going to get much more likely to get tilted by if they choose to run, say that guy where I said no, I don't want to run it once. I think he's much more likely to get tilted when it's actually brought up as an option like that, and he can propose it rather than people just have to have it checked by default and then the system automatically does it. So I think from the tilt point of view, it's much better, and just also if someone does run it twice and then they would have won the first one and they lose the second, they win the first one and lose the second one, I think they're much more likely to kind of get a little bit tilted by that kind of thing as well. This is kind of annoying. This is pretty weak to just check fold this board, but just out of position when we're this deep, I think he's just going to put us under so much pressure. He is likely to freeze up a lot in turns, which is the only thing. But he can just also have better pocket pairs that he elects to bet as well. So I mean, it's not even like we have amazing showdown. Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and check this one, or just go ahead and check fold. This is definitely on the weaker side. I'm gonna go back over that hand at a later point and do a little bit of analysis on it. I'm not entirely sure I made the correct play there. A jack and a jack on the right table, always a sight for sore eyes. We will be electing to go ahead and 3-bet. This guy just limps, so we're going to assume that this player is on the weaker side, which is something that we tend to assume when we see people open limping. Matu has gone ahead and elected to open anyway, so we're going to be making it just under $4 to go. And we're happy to check the 8-9 in the big. Flop a good shot. We're going to check call once. I mean, we have pair eights as well that are likely to be ahead. I mean, it's he's going to be c-betting this board, or you can't call it a c-bet because he limps, but he's going to be betting this board a reasonable percentage, so it's not like we're just fishing for a gut shot. And when he double barrels here on the ace, we're going to let this one go. Alright, let's go with the jacks. Ace king. We'll run this up twice, sure. We flop the set. And we have him drawing dead. Great that he hits his ace. Can we win the second? Boom. Great start. We're up we're up to $100 on the two tables. We're up about $50 now in total, which is fantastic for 9 minutes work so far. We'll take it. Oh, sorry, we're not including rake. Sorry, we're not quite up to 50, but we're not too far off it either. Always nice to run it twice and to win both. Can't complain. I'm gonna go ahead and ISO the weak limper. Make it $1 more. Not a fan of this guy overcalling at all. We're happy to check this one at least one straight anyway. Definitely want to pot control here a little. And we're just going to fire small here. This guy's going to have a hard time folding, like, 7s, 8s, 9s, stuff like that. He elects to raise us, which is very peculiar. I mean, he's saying he has like 4 or 5 or pocket 2s, really. I'm gonna call. When we check the flop and then we bet that size in the turn, we do look quite weak, so it's definitely like very feasible that he's bluffing here. We're in a bit of a tricky spot here. The fact that we picked up the gut shot in the turn led me to call, because even when we are crushed, we still have at least some outs. Alright, we're gonna let this one go. Nice play, nice play. So we give back some of our hard-earned jack dollars to our friend here in the small blind. I'm going to be opening the a7 suited, of course, from the button. Would have liked to have seen what this gentleman had. I'm going to use these emojis as much as possible, because again, I just feel like people are just gonna tilt a little. I just think people are more likely to tilt when you use them. I don't know. That's just me. Maybe I'm just being dumb. Maybe I'm just being silly because I like them. I don't want to show off the software a little bit. So this player here, from what I've seen so far, he's been pretty inactive. The fact that he's a kind of short stackers are often quite on the passive side, and not necessarily always. I mean, you will get some short stackers that do just go a little bit bonkers, but so far I don't think we've really seen him open many pots, so we're going to assume he is on the more passive side for now at least, until we have a reason to think otherwise. With no backdoor equity, we're just going to check this one back. Pretty much the best turn for us. The bestest turn. We have to bet to protect our hand here a little bit. We can get some value from some kinds of hands, like a lot of kind of pairs with weak spades and stuff like that. Might want to take that line and check call. Some lone spades potentially as well. Some kind of like queen x of spades, stuff like that. That might have a gut shot to go along with it. All these kinds of hands they can definitely call. And I think a lot of them are not likely to go for the check raise on the turn. But I mean, maybe they will. But like, it's not a bad play to do it with those kinds of hands. But in my experience, people at the lower limits don't tend to take those kinds of aggressive lines with their draws. So there's definitely value to be had. Okay, we're getting not a million miles off 3-1. Let's go ahead and see a flop. We flop the flush draw, not too shabby. Let's check to the razor. Oh, turn the flush. We're going to check again here. I expect him to bet this ace with a pretty high frequency, so we're going to go for the check raise. It's a little bit annoying. We're just going to bet ourselves here. I think if he hasn't betted any, like at this point, I think it's unlikely that he's going to start bluffing there too often. I mean, it's a decent card to bluff, but I just feel if he's going to bluff there, I think that ace is definitely the card to do it with. It's a pretty decent spot. We have the ace and the king. Let's open it up. King 5 suited, we're just going to let go facing the button open. Unfortunately, no action with the ace and the king. King 5 suited there, definitely a hand that I will mix in. If we've got a bit of a read on a player, we will have some players that will be, opening their buttons quite wide and over folding to 3-bets. King 5 suited, definitely a very reasonable hand to be attacking those kinds of players with. But without those reads, my default tends to just be to go ahead and let those kinds of hands go. Ace 5 suited though, with the extra wheel potential, we would be using to 3-bet bluff. Purely because of the wheel potential, not necessarily. I mean, King 5 suited and Ace 5 suited are reasonably similar in terms of absolute value. If you exclude the wheel draw, I mean, of course. Pocket 2 is under the gun. We're just going to let this go. We just fold kind of the lower pairs from under the gun. 8-5. This guy we've seen limping a lot. We really are going to want to start trying to get aggressive versus him and looking for spots where we can ISO, especially in position versus him. We've picked up a couple, but we have sort of run into it a couple of times. We had the jacks versus here where this guy ISO'd and we re-ISO'd, and then the other one was where this player got away with this. I got away with a decent sized pot from what I recall, with the ace 4, I believe. King 6 suited, we are very likely to be at least seeing a flop here, depending on the action, of course. Pretty much not going to be folding to a single raise unless it's exceptionally large. Nines and the queens. Nines take down a decent sized pot. So the question now is whether we want to 3-bet or whether we want to just flat. We're going to go ahead and flat. We have a weak backdoor gut shot and the second nut backdoor flush draw with king high. Not a terrible thing to see this go check check. Not amazing either though. Like when he does check, I think it's likely he has at least some showdown. Like he's gonna have a lot of kind of jack X and stuff like that, and maybe some weak ace X that elects to check back. So basically, I would be checking back all my kind of, you know, ace fours, fives, sixes, sevens. Like I'll have a decent amount of ace X here when I check back here in position, especially when we're super deep stacked. So, and then he'll also have jack X and stuff, so it's possible we might be able to blow him out of the water with a check and a raise, but it seems like it's pretty unnecessary, especially when we're this deep stacked. We're going to end up in a lot of dicey spots, and he can put us under a ton of pressure, because we're not really repping all that much either if we elect to take that kind of aggressive line. So we need to pick our bluffs accordingly as well, of course, that is important. Jack King off, one of my favorite hands. Let's open it up. Okay, Matu elects to call from the small. We flop reasonably well. Middle pair with the top kicker, because the ace is out there. We are going to check this back. Ace is a dream card for us. We're going to start betting for value now if checked to. Seems very unlikely that he has an ace here at this point that checks twice. He can have worse jack X. He can have some kind of pocket pairs like sixes, sevens, eights, nines, all that sort of stuff. That wants to get a little bit sticky. A6, we're going to let this one go. A6, I will open sometimes. This player strikes me as reasonably competent and someone who will be attacking reasonably correctly from the small, so I'm going to tighten up my cutoff and button opening range a little bit versus him. Ace King suited, obviously very trivial 3-bet here, blind versus blind. And we have a pretty easy all in here. Okay, pick up an easy $5 uncontested, not too shabby. Good to know that this player is capable of 4-bet folding in those kinds of spots. Some players, they're just literally not capable of 4-betting without, you know, an absolute monster. So it's good to know that he can do so. Versus this player, we're going to start limping and see how he responds to le limp. Flop top pair, pretty decent. We're going to bet again here, and we're going to check river. We are not check folding the river, in case that wasn't clear. We accept. So the reason we're not check folding there is I mean, unless he has a queen there, nothing really makes sense, right? I think it's pretty unlikely that he just calls with his like really nutted hands. Normally I 3-bet here, given that this player might be on a little bit of tilt and he might just see us as kind of, you know, attacking him basically. I'm gonna buy a little bit of goodwill back with him and let this one go. Like metagame is always a little bit important to these kinds of spots, and when we've just gotten into like a 5-bet pot with them, he's way more likely to start, you know, attacking our 3-bets and stuff like that. That would normally be a 3-bet versus me though, without any sort of history. What was I saying? I was talking about something else and I can't remember what it was. Oh well, it can't be too important. We're going to open the king and the jack. And we will open with the queen and the 8 offsuit versus Vim. Okay, flop top pair, decent kicker, not too shabby, and we have an open ender over here. Let's go ahead. We're just going to be betting half pot both tables. And we have a pretty good spot to double barrel here. And do we want to exercise a smidge of pot control here? Yes, I believe we do. We're going to check this one back, and that's just not a very nice run out for us. Hopefully he just checks like 10 jack with no spade. That'd be nice. Is there ever any merit in betting here? Like we might be able to get him to fold like, you know, king jack maybe. But he can also just have like, you know, pairs of nines, stuff like that. Like he doesn't necessarily always have a flusher. I think like he's going to be calling with the majority of his flushes, and like I think we do win here enough of the time that we can just check back here. It's pretty close. So we're gonna go for the check back. So yeah, he just has the queen and the nine. We'll take it. We'll take it. So like if we bet there, we're betting as purely as a bluff, obviously, of course. So I mean, it's very. I mean, I guess he can have some two pairs and stuff. I guess it's not entirely impossible. But in general, there when he does check call, it's really mainly just king jack that we're particularly concerned with. I mean, I guess Nidalee played ace jack as well, but mainly king jack, and you know, but he can also have the 10 jacks. He can have like 9 10s, queen 9, obviously, as we just saw, stuff like that. So we do have a very reasonable amount of showdown, and it just kind of really sucks when they're pot controlling with the, you know, like say if he had the queen of spades there, I think it's pretty reasonable that he takes a very similar line. So someone just won $40 for hitting a straight flush. Nice. Nice. Ace 8 under the gun, we're going to be letting this one go. King 8 suited, we will be defending, assuming no one goes bunkers with a 3-bet. 45 cent to win 105 with a suited king seems very reasonable to me. No spade, which kind of sucks. We have no backdoor flush draws, which is less than ideal. We do have overcards though. Alright, I guess we're going to start bluffing. Like we have a lot more 4x than our villain does, so it's going to be hard for him to call with ace highs here as well. So I mean, sometimes our king high is just good there, but I think it's really rare that he's going to have a hand he wants to call with there after he checks back that flop. So I guess we can just abuse him. And we're going to be ISOing versus the limper. And I mean, it's not really ISOing, we're heads up anyway, but you know what I mean. And we will be betting a lot of flops. Gut shot with backdoor diamond draw, definitely good enough to wager. Problem is, like, he definitely has a decent amount of 10x and stuff like that, but he's also just going to have, like, you know, a lot of trash that will be just folding as well. I mean, I don't think there's that much point in betting here. I mean, I guess we might be able to fold out like 6s and 7s, stuff like that if we bet, but I don't think we're going to fold out a jack. And I mean, occasionally we have the best hand if he has something like 8 and 9 or something like that, but it's not all that likely. He just has the queen and the 10 for the flopped triples, and he just decides, no, I'm not going to bet this. No, sir. I don't have the stone cold nuts, so I'm not going to bet. So we're fully convinced now that this player is of the weakest and the passivist variety, where they just flop the trips and just don't bet at any point in position themselves. So I mean, that sort of spot is like, I mean, obviously we're dominated there pre, but it's still going to be a pretty fine spot for us in general, because we're ISOing versus a really weak passive player. A ton of the time he's just going to whip the flop, and if we're just sort of c-betting a high percentage of the time, he's just going to be like just folding a lot. I wouldn't imagine he's the sort of tricky player who's going to be like calling with his, you know, backdoor equity and overs and stuff like that. So even though we're dominated, it's still a very fine spot, and obviously we're not going to be dominated tons either, and we will have him dominated on occasion as well, like with his, you know, suited 8x, like 8-9 suited and stuff like that. King 7 on the button, let's bring it in for an open. Definitely don't mind just 2 folds here. Don't mind a call too much. Definitely don't want to get 3-bet. Let's have a wager. Hopefully he just check folds. He's going to have a lot of, like, you know, random ace x here, and just random unconnected hands, like, you know, his king 9s, his king 7s, all that sort of stuff that are probably just going to check folds. When he check raises, it sucks, but hey, what are we going to do? It's a pretty reasonable spot to c-bet anyway. We're going to go ahead and 3-bet with the ace jack suited. We should get a ton of respect from these kinds of positions, including from the initial opener. This guy calls, which is bonkers to me. Very unusual spot to call. We flop pretty good though. This guy 3-bets, so we have... What did I just do? He did 3-bet. Okay, he did 3-bet. Okay, this guy calls. I would imagine he almost always has an overpair here. I mean, we've overs and we have the nut flush draw. I mean, sometimes this guy has sets and stuff, but I think it's more likely he has just like 7s plus. So let's just get the money in and hopefully we win a monster. Let's see if he wants to run it twice. Some extra straight outs for the chop. Nope. Rigged. We missed both. That's not right. One overcard in the flush draw. We should hit at least one, right? It's annoying. So we were up the stack over there. We are now down the stack. It is what it is. I think his raise get in with jacks. It's like, it's, you know, reasonable, but like when we've 3-bet under the gun and we've bet and then jam that flop, we're also just gonna have, like, you know, kings and aces a ton as well. So it's very rare that he's gonna have amazingly good equity there, and he's gonna be in a lot of trouble a lot of the time. We defend the 10 and the jack, and we will go for the... I was gonna say we were gonna go for the check raise there. Let's have a bet here with our gut shot. I mean, it kind of sucks on a three pair board here, but we can just have a lot of kind of pocket pairs and stuff here. All right. You got it. I don't know why. I always just want to rabbit hole. Even when we have no equity, I just want to do it. I just want to do it. So we limp the 6 and the tray, we flop an open ender, and we have the backdoor flush draw to go along with it. And we're going to 3-bet with the queen and the 10. And we're going to call this raise. We bink our straight. If we start betting here on this straight card, I think our hand is just way too obvious. So we're going to check. And hopefully this guy had some sort of bluff that he wants to fire on. And let's just hope he hasn't managed to fill up. We are going to bet for value here. And unfortunately we have to fold the queen and the 10. So he's the kind of player just 4-betting the... Oh wow, look at us. He flopped the straight. Lucky us. He's the kind of player who's just 4-betting 10s there, which I think it's definitely reasonable versus me especially. But it's good to know that for sure. We have him on our right on both tables, so any sort of reads we have here are going to be very, very relevant on both tables, which is very, very good news for us. So we are coming to the end of part 1. We are going to be recording part 2 straight after this as well, so you guys will get to see a full hour-long session, all at the same 2 tables. Been pretty fun so far. We've had some pretty decent sized pots. Obviously we won the 2 stacks very early on. We got some pretty decent spots. We got the pair versus the flush. We got the nut straight versus the pair plus flush draw, where most of the money, a lot of the money went in on the flop, and then all of it went in on the turn. We got the jacks in versus the ace king. We ran it twice and we held both times, so lucky there. And then we got the ace jack suited in versus the pocket jacks on the 2 flush flop. So we had the flush draw with 1 overcard as well. So unfortunately, we lost both of them though. So overall, definitely a decent session. We're up about a buy-in, or close enough to maybe just under a buy-in. For half hour's work, that's not too shabby. We would have preferred to be up like, 75, but hey, we'll take it. We'll take what we can get. Anyway, that's been me for part 1. We'll be back immediately, as I said, with part 2 as well. Thank you very much for tuning in, guys. As always, any questions, queries, comments, anything like that at all, feel free to drop them into YouTube or over on the PokerVIP forums. I always do my best to monitor the videos for a while after they go up. So if you do have any questions, feel free to do so, and I will do my best to get back to you. Thanks very much, guys. Take it easy.